Well, Texas continues to prove why they are one of the best states in the union.
All right, y'all, keep your eyes peeled and your guns ready.
Today I'm going to tell you how they gave the big old finger to the ATF and said, hey, while we're at it, screw the NFA as well. Now I want to fill gun owners in on what's going on, because this is a largely symbolic move, especially with the NFA part of it, but make no mistake about it, it makes a huge statement to the ATF, the Trump administration, anybody else listening, that Texas is not, they're basically done playing around with all this gun control. They're going to flip the script in a way and say, hey, you know what, Texas is not just going to become a Second Amendment sanctuary state in name, but in practice as well. Now, gun owners need to be aware, if you are in Texas, that this is not just a free pass. So I will talk mainly about the pros. I do want to throw a couple of cons in there, if you will, just things that you need to consider if you're in Texas and a gun owner. This is huge, man. I love the South because we get stories like this, and it just makes me really happy to see that Texas is not playing around. Hopefully other states will continue to follow this pattern. I want to hear your opinion, whatever it is, down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first one, what actually brought my attention to this, is Texas is now banning any gun buyback programs. If you are a government official, sheriff's department, doesn't matter. You cannot run and use funds from the state to run that gun buyback program. As a matter of fact, you can't even use somebody else's funds in order to do that if you are a part of the government in that state. There was a big one last year with Shaquille O'Neal in Dallas, and the sheriff's office did this whole big thing, right? And so they get a celebrity in there to, you know, talk about turning in guns to make the community safer. And it's always under the disguise of public safety. We've talked about this before. It is basically a load of crap. And now they're saying that, hey, you can't do that. Now, private citizens and even nonprofits, I believe, could still run this, right? There's kind of a line there, right, between freedom of expression, but the government is not a person. So they don't really have the same constitutional rights we do. So if somebody wants to voluntarily turn their guns in to a local police department, you can still do that. If an individual wants to run one of these programs, or even a nonprofit, they could still do that. But this is banning taxpayer dollars and even individuals' dollars from working in correlation with local governments and local police departments. But the other big thing, the other big bill that actually just passed through in Texas says that under state law, SBRs, SBSs, they will no longer be regulated in Texas, meaning that state and local law enforcement can no longer just arrest you if you own one of these items and you didn't go through the federal process of owning it. Now, this is largely a symbolic type of bill, but it still, in practice, actually would work for gun owners quite well, because essentially what they're doing is pushing for a normalization of SBRs and SPSs, because barrel lengths are arbitrary, right? It doesn't make a weapon any more dangerous. So removing the stigma is a part of actually gaining support behind these types of things. It also makes it harder for feds to come in and actually arrest people in that state, because they no longer will have local officials to help them in doing so. Texas is sending a clear message to the ATF and saying that what you're doing is you're treating a right like a privilege. You're saying because a gun looks a certain way, we can regulate, put people on a registry, gather all their information when the firearms function the same exact way, they just look different. And this could probably help to protect any future administrations that decide that, oh, you know what, pistol braces, they actually do reclassify your weapons. This definitely makes a stronger push for like the short act, right, to get SBRs and SBSs into the mix to deregulate those along with suppressors. Now, the PSA to gun owners is this will become somewhat of a legal gray area for you, because the feds could still make an example out of you if they want to. But you know what? Other states have done this. They have done this with a certain plan. You know, many states have done this. Right, wrong, or indifferent. However you feel about that, there's definitely benefits to it. And so while states have actively pushed against that and federal law still says it's illegal, why can't we do the same thing for firearms? Tennessee has done this as well. But gun owners need to be aware that technically the Form 1, Form 4 process, whichever one you're doing, still applies on a federal level. There may be some agencies that don't get the memo. That could lead to court battles, costly things for you and your family to incur, when now on a state level, you're good, but on a federal level, you're not. Kind of reminds me of Noreen Scroggins and Randy Kane out in Wyoming. Randy thought he could own firearms. He actually got a letter from Governor Mark Gordon saying that his gun rights were restored. And yet the ATF came in and took Randy and Noreen's guns away from them. They still haven't gotten them back. They're actually actively working with Gun Owners of America. So what I would like to see is not only other states kind of follow in Texas and Tennessee's footsteps here, but also hopefully make a bigger push for these types of guns to be completely deregulated. We already know, like everybody pretty much in my audience, even if you're not pro-gun and you're watching this, think about it like this. You're talking about a gun that looks like that gun, that looks like the next gun, that functions the same exact way as one another. One trigger pull, one bullet. One is just shorter. One has under a 16-inch barrel, while the other doesn't. And if you come up with the argument that SBRs are easier to conceal, just remember, we already have concealed carry. Pistols, even large pistols, are way more concealable than what we have here. You probably don't even realize how many people you come across in your daily life that are carrying firearms on them right now. No matter where you're watching this, there could be somebody carrying a gun around you and you have no idea. The other part of this is we already have a ton of guns that are out there that are legally registered as SBRs. We have a ton of pistols with braces. It's not the same thing. It's not a stock on the back of that, but largely function the same exact way, and yet you don't see an influx of crime. The assault weapons ban from 94 to 2004 showed us that banning certain types of guns doesn't work. It doesn't impact the crime at all. It's like banning this knife because it folds out and it becomes longer. Still serves the same purpose, right? This way, safety's on. This way, safety's off. Same exact thing, same exact principle. And the last thing I'll say is the 2A was not written with restrictions in mind, but with technological advances in mind. They could have easily said people have the right to keep and bear arms as long as they're hard to hide, or as long as they don't go over a certain caliber, or as long as you don't own a cannon or something equal to the federal government at that time. They left it intentionally open to make sure that living, breathing document still continues to be relevant to this day. There you go. There's my opinion. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.